comes out in here. They got to, you know, put their money where the mouth is.
Yeah, and it is going to be QG coming out with that Kindred ban that you guys talked about for the jungle.
I mean, Malphite Ryze, like Malphite is a pick that is like just very strong. Maybe they don't like the Fiora into Malphite matchup, but Fiora is actually like really good into Malphite because of the passive mechanic. And yeah, all the bans, Gangplank and Kindred, we talked about this Ryze. Lulu is still not banned, but I expect Lulu to be banned probably from one of those two here.
I feel like what this is lining up for is that the Elise first pick. We have the Elise spin, Lee Sin coming in. I think Elise is good into Lee Sin, but still, I feel like this is an Elise first pick from Dignitas right off the bat.
But do you trade Elise for Lulu? I don't think so.
I think it's potentially something you could do.
I would probably, like, what I would do is probably like, give Elise away, pick Lulu, and I actually like Zac right now. Zac into Elise is really powerful, because Zac is one of the champions that benefits so much from the Spirit Visage first item, and once you get that item, he's unkillable. He's also a tank in the jungle, has like very farm clear speed, and Lulu's banned, which is a mistake in my it's a mistake in my opinion, because you should leave it open and grab one of the other. So right now QG drafted themselves into like a pretty decent disadvantage, I would say, right?
I would agree completely. We do have Mundo open. That is like the big question mark. Will they pick up Mundo into the Elise? Personally, I feel like Elise does well into Mundo, simply because Mundo is like a melee champion. So of course, Elise has a possibility to kite him. But still, I have to agree with you. This draft,
it's the flex. You should just pick up Mundo right now. We talked about the Trundle. Trundle on red side right now is extremely good, because you can still flex it to the last pick into the top lane or support, and then can just get like a really favorable matchup in the bot lane or in the top lane.
Okay. It's especially more powerful against those like tankier players, obviously just because of the subjugate, but because that Last Whisper is now way less valuable than it used to be. It doesn't do quite the same thing. Trundle kind of fits that slot. So if you do build somebody that's hyper tanking, he's going to be able to shut it down.
Also, his ultimate, of course. His ultimate is the only mechanic in the game right now that actually counters tanks effectively without an item. Because once you use that ultimate, you take away 40% of their armor, which is really big for your AD carries. That's why it's like really good against tanks right now. And Lissandra, flex pick for the top and mid lane, very prominent pick, we talked about it a bit. She can itemize fairly effectively currently, because she's like that budget champion right now. Rod of Ages, Abyssal, and maybe Frost Queen's Claim. Those 3 items are like still low tier in the gold price range, but are super effective on that patch.
And it's like Lissandra is the type of champion that you want to be strong with early game, because that's where she's strong. But thinking about the Trundle, it's like if you put it in the bot lane, you're most likely going to lose the 2v2. But the beauty of Trundle and the red side, picking on the red side, is the fact that you can guarantee yourself a stronger matchup in the top lane, and it's very, very easy to transition pressure into a bot lane that has Trundle, because you just pillar, and it's so easy to gank something like the Thresh that he just locked in on Dignitas' side.
And there's that Tristana that you guys are talking about too, coming in as the first AD carry that we're going to see in this matchup.
I think the idea behind the Tristana is simply because of what I said about the Trundle. They're expecting the Trundle to end up in the bottom lane, and laning against the Trundle is almost very, very free. But the beauty of Trundle is you can interrupt the jump. So I hope we get to see that mechanic.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So obviously, Swift is the Nidalee player. Maybe we see a bit of Nidalee. Not quite that good on this patch, because she's still getting buffed. In the next patch, we still obviously play on the 5.23, where there's like 20 damage on the Q in the early game, plus a bit of scaling. And I'm actually surprised if you see the Trundle end up in the bot lane. I would just put him top lane right now, and then pick like something strong in the bot lane. Maybe Misfortune and Morgana or something.
Yeah, Lucian's still up too.
Lucian's still up too, and this is really good. But yeah, Nidalee is being locked in.
Oh, okay.
And Lucian, I actually like that. They still leave up the option, the support pick and top lane, how they should be. Lissandra obviously still, it's like a triple flex right now, so they can just decide the whole team come with their last pick. And Dignitas has to show all their cards right now in that next draft, so maybe we can even see Mundo in the top lane.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I mean, if Mundo's kind of out of the question for the jungle, does Dignitas just secure it in the top lane? I mean, overall, the reason any champion is strong in a certain role is because they're strong overall, right? You're not going to have someone that's too crazy.
It's like, speaking of the flexibility, though, I think Dignitas should just go for the safe picks like Orianna in the mid lane, something like Anivia, these very, very solid picks, and just end up on something on top lane like the Gnar. Because it's very hard to counter a champion like the Gnar, does well into the Trundle, and it should be overall fine. Just pick something safe and rely on the fact that you have the Elise in the jungle and power on that kind of card.
Okay.
Victor is one of the safest blue side picks still. I know that a lot of people think he's weak, but I think he's like a really good blue side pick. It's very safe pick, good scaling, lots of wave clear, so you can just prolong the game for like forever pretty much, until Tristana reaches that critical point of like 3 items where she just takes over the game. And we see a Fiora in the top lane. We know that Smitty J is like a carry-oriented player, like Irelia, Fiora, he plays those champions. And right now, what is QG gonna answer here? Like, what's the like really good pick that, to round up everything? What
And
would
it's
you
like, if it wasn't QG, I would just instantly say Jax. But like, we have V, he has a prominent Hecarim player, he's the tank player that everyone talks about, Gnar as well. And Malphite out of the picture, which is a good matchup into the Fiora. I actually really like the Fiora blind pick.
Okay.
my pick? I mean, with the way top lane got banned, Ryze and Malphite, probably like the 2 strongest pick on the top lane currently.
Right.
I agree. I like that
Alright.
actually.
The Hecarim most
Of course,
likely.
yeah, of course, the one downside is they have a weak bot lane matchup right now. Trundle in the support role is like fairly weak into like Thresh. It's a free lane for Tristana, so QG has to play around the top side, probably here with the Hecarim, see what they can do in a 2-on-2. But obviously, Elise Fiora has like potential to do like, a lot of things. So I wouldn't be too surprised if both teams have the same game plan right now and go to the top lane 2-on-2 and try to snowball the whole game through that.
Yeah, and you know, again, this is something that should favor Dignitas on paper. Not only have QG picked some weaker lanes, they've also not necessarily shown, you know, when we last saw them, that they really were particularly playing for the lane.
Right.
I think the Nidalee, obviously it's a comfort pick, but it's also going to infuse a little bit of early pressure on the QG side, so we'll see if they can counter a bit.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like Dignitas they're gonna get the start kind of they wanted, be able to play their game in the very first game they get to show off this roster. Yamato, what about you? Final thoughts on this pick and ban?
It's like right off the bat, it's like Dignitas sure they have the Tristana for late game, but I don't think you're going to reach that point with Tristana. But Dignitas have the strong matchups on both sides of the map. They need to take this game early on because in the mid game, the QG roster is very, very strong.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. There are the rosters in game for Dignitas versus the QG Reapers. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be jumping right into Summoner's Rift for game number 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the caster's desk here for IEM Cologne. If you haven't seen me before, and I wouldn't blame you for that, my name is Uber and I'm here with Frostgurin. We have got a fantastic match already on our hands, of course. It's going to be QG guy up against Dignitas, and you, of course, my font of knowledge for this particular match.
Casters, I can't even escape them in Germany. I get stuck with another one. No, I'm super excited to be here, and of course we have a explosive match starting, like you said, Dignitas versus Xiaogu.
Absolutely, you can see them there readying up and are about to head in onto the Rift, and of course our friends over at the expert desk definitely gave us a good solid prelude to this one as well, but no doubt, Froskurin, that we've got a lot to talk about coming out of that Champion Select.
Yeah, first thing that I really want to touch on is kind of the double teleport that Xiaogu have set themselves up with versus Dignitas not taking the teleport. Obviously, Victor doesn't get as much out of it just because teleports in. He's pretty... we see Swift going full aggressive. Teleports in, he's fairly fragile. Ooh, early invade.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to see here, obviously, that Swift has already gone over the wall with TNT and TCT just sitting here in that mid-brush, but you can see the pings. We're seeing them now coming out from that Chinese side as well. Very insistent about just establishing some territory here as well. Just the one ward, Swift will just back out.
I mean, effectively, he's sacrificing his setup time. Normally when Nidalee jungles, she sets up her traps to kind of make quick work of all of these camps using the extra damage there, but obviously sacrificing that setup time to get some deep knowledge there to figure out where the enemy jungler is starting. That's pretty indicative of Swift. He's a very aggro jungler, especially on this Nidalee. Look for him to invade, to be right in Kirei's face.
Well, it has been said about QG that Swift is definitely a centre point for that team. So we'll see how he sets himself up here in the early moments. And of course, his opposite number will be Kirei on that Elise. He'll be starting over at the Gromp, of course, to kick things off, even doing B going forward, putting down that ward. So, yeah, deep ward's coming down as now those initial camps are being taken away. We'll have the Krug take away here for Jesse's and Apollo. TCT and TNT are ready to head bot side. And
it's now about how will Xiaogu use the information that they've set up with their deep wards. They know that Kirei's starting on the top side of the map, so what does Swift translate with that? Nidalee obviously known for making plays into the early game, although she typically builds Rod of Ages from the jungle this time around, so a bit of a later power spike.
Also Catalyst Protector helping out in its own little way as that build does develop here. So standard lane assignments here, nothing crazy in terms of those sort of matchups here as well. Of course, Alessandra in the mid lane. Be interesting to see how Shifter and Doinb go head-to-head throughout this one.
And the thing that I really want to touch on as we go through the early game is kind of what these compositions set up and how these teams are planning to execute them. So on the side of Dignitas, the two members that I see really working well together in tandem is SmittyJ's Fiora alongside Apollo's Tristana. Now, likewise, that'll also work really well for Shifter with his Chaos Storm, but you just kind of have this Venn diagram of murder where they lay down their two kind of AoE ults, and they're trying to find this execute. You know, Fiora's ult goes down, she wants that person to go down immediately, and as soon as the executions start going down through, Apollo's able to continually hop around the team fight. On the other side, Xiaogu, it's all about their 5v5, it's all about their flank. But hold on, gank in the mid lane.
Cocoon comes out and does catch onto Doinb as well. He's not able to use the glacial path to get out. He's caught, of course, being stunned. Can't use that E again. He goes down.
Beautiful gank from Kirei right there. And Swift, I don't know if he can take this one.
Does land the javelin, he's got to leap forward anyway, but Kirei, of course, doing the percent health damage. Back and forth, he just used the repel to get up, and that's the flash being forced. Now Kirei going to use one of his own. He gets the Q in, and the execute comes out.
And here comes the teleport. Doinb.
Another glacial path forward. He wants to continue to fight. Now he's in his own territory, but Kirei's on top of him. He should be able to get the damage down. And Shifter flashes the wall and finishes it with that auto attack.
Absolute disaster for Xiaogu right there. You effectively just burned a 5-minute cooldown to feed another free kill right there. That is
insane.
3 easy pickups for Dignitas in the first 3 minutes of the game.
QG, maybe you'd think they will just want to get a feel for Dignitas at this point, but so far they've just given over so much, getting so aggressive there as well, and just Kirei could not be happier with that exchange.
And we talked about how Swift is the really aggressive jungler here, but Kirei, you know, there wasn't many expectations going in for this new Dignitas squad, but new squad, new expectations, and Kirei is putting that on full blast.
Absolutely, of course, failing to get in towards the EU LCS twice, of course, this is his big chance with Dignitas. He started off well. Death Sentence, though, does connect with TNT. No Flay to follow it up. It was a little bit slow. Frozen Domain comes down, and TCT able to just increase the gap.
I mean, at this point, Xiaogu just need to stop the bleeding. They do have a weakness because they don't have that massive cooldown available in the teleport for mid lane. SmittyJ, though, getting shoved out by V there.
As we'll see V maybe just get the better of SmittyJ for these first few moments here, but we do see Swift again is on the move, but Kirei, look at him, double buffed up. He's looking for trouble.
This is devastating. Effectively, Swift can no longer gank the mid lane, and if he ever is in a 2v2 situation, just because Kirei is so far ahead with those initial early kills, if this turns into a counter gank situation, Fiora and Elise are stronger.
Well, Kirei at least wants to get the gank down. Don't know about the counter there because Swift's not there, and there we go. V going to get jumped on here. SmittyJ putting down some early damage, and it's pretty much as simple as A, B, C. SmittyJ comes away with the kill credit.
Kirei just dominating this game, 100% kill participation. 5 minutes in, Dignitas have 4 kills. I mean, everyone's saying Dig's got nothing. What a way to start IEM.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely a question mark hanging over these guys so far. But the question remains for Oscars, how much have they, you know, eked out for themselves, carved out, should I say, and how much have QG given them on a silver platter?
I believe Pyrotechnics said take a bite out of Xiaogu in the early game. So this is pretty indicative. They usually fall behind in lane, not to this extreme. I mean, obviously, you don't want to give away 4 kills. But if someone were to play from behind, Xiaogu definitely know how to do it. They're the top team that at 20 minutes when they win a game from the LPL, that they're always behind in gold. So we'll see if they have the comeback potential, especially on the new patch, because snowballs can get so far out of control because you have more ambient gold.
Well, so QG, you know, they say put themselves in a disadvantage in their lane phase. No, people aren't saying that they're necessarily bad at laning. It's just that their picks facilitate more of that team fight happening later on down the line. But here, I mean, they've already given over a fair chunk of gold. It's about a K at this point, so obviously nothing really to be writing home about. But even on the mental side of things, Dignitas looking confident, and Kirei, he's heading topside yet again.
And again, the tower dive potential out of Elise is phenomenal with her repel, able to juggle that tower aggro. V does not have the onslaught of shadows.
Cocoon does here. I mean, it's going to be all and said and done there. Really is. Kirei can just come through and pick that one up here. They're farming V for the moment here. He's obviously had 2 deaths in the last few moments, and it's all about Dignitas right now. Swift, he's got to be looking for some sort of opening, some way to get in there and bring his team back into this.
I mean, effectively at this point, this is a great response from Jesus. So this is what they understand. Kirei has shown himself into the top lane, so Swift makes the counterplay. He has the pink ward in his inventory. Okay, I know that Elise is up top. I'm going to try to get some deep vision with this pink ward on the bottom side. Jesus immediately responds like, hey, I bet Nidalee's kind of poking her head around, immediately walks into the jungle, and you now have deep vision, but it's fairly shallow in terms of where it's been placed.
He was able to just scare away the wandering Nidalee going through there. And Kirei, of course, as we've been talking about junglers, has had a good start. He's now back in his own side of the jungle. There is TNT coming forward. There's going to be caught up on the death set. Jesse's might have to follow up on this one a little bit more. The trade seems like he'll be happy enough with that.
Apollo still very conservative in lane. He's never known as a massive playmaker, but meanwhile in the top lane.
Well, the grand challenge goes down, and V definitely has to get the heck out of dodge. It's going to be one more tick, and he might even be able to dive this one with the extra health. Ripov comes out. There's the Ignite, though, in response. Good work from V. Smitty J's going to survive that one, but only just.
A little bit of a miscommunication there from Smitty J and Keyray. I think if he had just waited for Elise to get in position. And there's the level 6 Onslaught of Shadows, and V will find a pickup kill. So again, Dignitas just kind of fumbling their communication, their execution on that top lane gank.
A lack of respect maybe coming out from Smitty J there as well, as the level 6 came around for that Hecarim. And V gets himself one back, 1, 2, and 0 the man is right now. And as we are starting to see some of those first items being picked up here as well. I mean, anything really standing out to you here?
I'm curious where Doinby's going to go with the Phoenix Codex. In the WCA, we were actually seeing Chinese mid laners, although Doinby is Korean. Hold on, though.
Although Kure might be caught, Cocoon just to try and get by himself some space, but he's having to move away. Teleport from the backside as well. Repel goes up, and Kure gets a little bit of a leapfrog done over Swift, and he leaves them in their dust.
Okay, so TP burned into the top lane. V will have his shortly, so we'll see if Xiao Gu do anything with this window of having a numbers advantage. Meanwhile, Shifter just bowling Doinby. But back to this Phoenix Codex. Now, I suspect, as I say it...
Every time we try, these guys just want to fight all the time. And Jesse's starts things off again, gets the flay back in the box, will not find its intended target. Culling to come out from TNT there as well. He is very, very low and will have to abscond, I'd say, for the moment.
So much damage coming out of Lucian's ultimate right now. You never see it used to do, 80% of someone's health.
Yes, well, I mean, Lucian on 523 is a little bit weaker. His base AD has been reduced slightly, is what I'm trying to say. So,
well, his power has just kind of been shifted around out of that ultimate that you found there. I'm trying to think of its name, the culling. This is why you're the play-by-play character.
Yes, we're expected to know all the names, which is often a dangerous thing. But here we go, Lantern to pull Apollo out there as well. And it does look like Dignitas' bot lane, they might actually head back now as well. I mean, CS lead as well, it's a decent one for Apollo. Playing the passive game, just farming up, and it has yielded him that 10 CS advantage across the map as well. It's a 10 CS advantage for Smitty J, enjoying that lane. But Doinby in the mid lane has at least managed to eke out an advantage of his own, despite being down a kill and assist compared to Shifter.
Yeah, no surprise there from Doinby. Now, the thing is Doinby's actually more of a secondary support for the team, so Lissandra makes sense for him. His teleport is back up, likewise is V's. So I expect that Xiao Gu should make a play here since Fiora's teleport is down to see if they can get a numbers advantage and kind of put themselves or swing momentum back in control of this game. But the problem is you're effectively waiting for Swift to give the okay. And since Keyray is just so much stronger than him, we see this strength being transitioned to deep vision all over Swift's jungle if he's going to get an opportunity or window to do that. Jesse's
now looking for a death sentence. TCT was already caught by Kakuna. That Trundle is just not tanky enough yet. And Dignitas finding picks where they need to. And here's the 3-man roam.
Just transitioning their power and their lead immediately into Swift's jungle. That deep vision already paying off immediately.
Dignitas giving absolutely no quarter in the early stages here, as Swift has still been searching for a reasonable advantage or an opportunity to create such a thing. And the top lane is where he's sojourning right now. He's not spotted by a ward, so he's going to go in for this one as well. Does land that javelin, that's pretty good. Smitty J obviously trying to riposte, going to dash away, but Onslaught of Shadows is just going to get the job done.
And it was really just important that he landed that javelin, but meanwhile, Keyray again.
Another cocoon towards TNT and a distance to follow up. All the CC coming at the right times for Dignitas, and they respond accordingly in the bottom lane, and they'll probably have this tower for their trouble.
There is absolutely no reason for TNT to be that far forward on the tower without TCT there. That was an easy dive, easy call for Dignitas. They pick up the tower, which is going to give them the global gold, and they can easily swing this advantage down onto the dragon if they want to take it.
Things starting to look a little bit grim here for QG as they are giving away some advantages in the early game, but it's just the first tower to fall there for Dignitas.
7-2.
Diplomacy is key, I feel, in these situations. Doinby going forward here as well. What's he going to do? I mean, Shifter does get tombed up there as well when he manages to get out. It's a good little pillar of filth, actually, that's going to knock Shifter up. And now, of course, the active of his ultimate, he gets that subjugate down. 1-for-1 trade, a messy thing there as well as, of course, the dragon being picked up by Keyray.
So many resources and cooldowns used right there. Dignitas, they pick up the dragon. They've now moved their resources into the mid lane. That's actually a pretty standard play from Xiao Gu. After the bottom tower goes down, they like to consolidate their resources into the mid lane because they know that that's kind of the next big objective available on the map, especially with that dragon going down. So they always try to use it as kind of like a countermeasure play, but in the end, that mid pick really doesn't mean as much in terms of Dignitas' lead in Snowball.
Yeah, of course, and a correction, it wasn't a 1-for-1, it was a 1-for-0, as Shifter was the only one that went down. TNT wants to push in at the bottom here. Culling will come out, but Smitty J seems to have found him as well, and he does lay down that grand challenge, but straight away, it's a teleport coming in. Smitty J has to get out. There's another TP on towards that cannon minion, and there's Doinb. He's coming forward. Smitty is able to block a little bit of damage, but he's under his own tower. There's just no one to help him. And that is a nice little play there from Doinb, getting aggressive towards the bottom side.
We talked about how Chaogu needed to make use of their teleport cooldowns to try to kind of outmaneuver Dignitas on the map. They finally get it into the bot lane, and they trade 1-for-1 in terms of towers. But meanwhile, Dignitas have moved their bot lane back up into the top side, and they should be picking up another free gold.
This trio as well, it's not the first time we've seen them all go together and make a roam, and they're going to claim a tower as well. Obviously mirrored on the bottom side by QG, looking to do just the same. Dignitas already starting to add up that gold, but do note here, of course, is it is very even with those towers coming down. QG actually have themselves a gold lead here.
A far superior trade right there for Chaogu, because they got the second inner tower, and they're all backing in time to defend their top inner tower. So advantage to Chaogu right there, although Dignitas are burning this down quickly.
Of course, with that Tristana there as well, it's always going to be helpful battering away at that tower. You could see on the periphery, though, V was there, maybe showing a glimpse of himself. Chaogu aren't going to be able to fight on this one as well, but they will force Dignitas back. Dig have lost that bottom outer turret here, in a turret, should I say, so definitely trade in favor of Chaogu.
Question is, where do they strike now? It looks like they're going to dive this mid lane. Frozen Tomb is available, so Doinb has some protection and security there.
Well, that does look like that's going to be happening. Jessis goes forward, throws the lantern back. Doinb as well will have to tomb. No, he doesn't tomb himself. He actually uses on Jessis, if I'm not mistaken. Swift gets out towards the back. The double kill coming out. A 2-for-1 trade here for Dignitas. How?
And they sacrificed their tower right there. Frankly, it was just poor decision-making with the ultimate from Lysandre right there. Doinb should not have used that aggressively. Either they just had no idea that Dignitas were coming for the flank. Oh, nice onslaught.
Yeah, the onslaught of shadows to at least, in the animation, I think avoids a stun, but eventually when it finishes...
Force the flash is really all that matters there.
And truly worthwhile. TCT now doing a bit of housework in towards that mid lane, and to be fair, I mean, we've talked about QG with disadvantages early on, but gold still looking nice and even between these two. It's just the dragon to set them apart.
The scary thing, though, is that Chaogu do not get the security of kind of last season, of last meta. This meta completely new. You can't kind of fall back onto, you know, freezing deep waves and stalling out these games for 45, 50 minutes, so it just comes down to that one big play. Because Chaogu, they're a playmaking team. Dignitas, you know, they have the power late game because they have the scaling Tristana. They made the correct early calls, especially on the back of Keyray, to get the snowball ahead. And I just don't think in this current meta that Chaogu have the luxury to wait that long. I think Dignitas are in full control, although this new meta puts the onus on the player, on the team who needs to win. They need to push in, they need to take advantage.
Now let's talk about this Frost Queen's claim being built on Doinb here as well. Not a Rod of Ages sort of starters maybe we would have expected to see from this Lysandre.
Yeah, so this is the question that I had the Phoenix Codex, what it was going to transition into. Effectively, this slot is there for your CDR, your mana regen, so that's something that Frost Queen's claim is always going to hit. I mean, everyone's talking about how powerful it is. The vision games change. You see the spooky ghost go out right there. It obviously assists with checking for blind spots, making sure that you don't walk into an obvious trap.
Swift goes in, does steal the red away, and he might want to fight off the back of this one. TCT is close. It might be a Pillar of Frost, but the repel's going to come out quickly. But there's Doinb, gets in there with the Frozen Tomb, and Keyray, he's dead to rights.
Dignitas just not consolidating their resources. I mean, Lysandre is strong right now. We're kind of in this, it's weird to call 15 minutes the mid-game swing, but just for how gold is going down right now. And again, the fact that Chaogu managed to get that bottom inner tower was kind of a big swing in terms of this game and leveling them back out. And they're making full use of this, and Dignitas just kind of getting picked off. They need to just group up, use their power, siege their towers. Tristana is incredible at that. You've got great zone control from Victor if he's next to a tower with his laser, as well as his gravitation field.
PG gave over a lot of resources early on, but they've been able to make those back and some at this stage, and maybe Dignitas now at least feeling a little bit on the back foot here as Jesse's going rather deep here as well. Just checking those wards, of course, with the safe zone in the top lane. Apollo not too far away from him here. And would you believe we might have even a moment here of respite for both of these two teams? Apollo just wanting to continue to farm himself up. Now, that lead has persisted between him and TNT since early, but it's not a big lead. 3 kills, though, of course, is always going to set you in good stead on that Tristana.
I can't remember who was talking about it on the desk. I think it was Dexter there, but the fact that Tristana is typically a 3-item power spike champion, so she kind of has a lull in a mid-game. She doesn't get as much off of the 2-item. Does have the rapid fire complete as we see the Rift Herald being contested by, finished off by Dignitas, whereas TNT right now is exceptionally powerful. He has the Essence Reaver completed. He's more so going to have a 2-item power spike. So we'll see kind of... That went to Jesus.
Perhaps, yeah, well, a bit strange. What are your thoughts, though? Maybe if he's going to be that roaming piece or going to be moving around with Kirei, does it make sense?
I frankly think that it was just supposed to go on Apollo, but Jesus like, no, I got it.
Well, kill secured nonetheless there for Cheeky Jesses as he does ref the purple surrounding on him. Now, of course, Dragon is just spawning in here, and this would be Chaogu's first, but Dignitas have established presence in the mid lane. You can see Glacial Path used just for Dwinby to keep a respectful distance between him and the rest of Dignitas.
I mean, it was trying to bait Jesus into the hook right there. Jesus could have easily gotten that, especially because Dwinby put himself in between the tower and the wall. It's a free skill shot, but good patience from Jesus to reveal Chaogu, setting up a flank in the wings.
The Dragon is now being taken away here for Chaogu, and it doesn't really look like Dignitas are in any position to contest. Presence still in that mid lane for TCT, just pushing them back, or at least denying any access towards this part of the map. So that very important first Dragon, like Dexter pointed out, has now gone over to both teams.
Well, Dignitas really aren't in a position to contest right now. Again, we talk about kind of the itemization power spikes and where the power lies. Dignitas are now waiting for Tristana to really come online and to start taking off. You have the Trinity Force complete for V. You've got the 2 items for Lissandra. She is incredibly cost efficient with what makes her strong. Likewise, the Abyssal will do a lot of work against the AoE of Victor on that Chaos Storm.
And we're yet to really see how that Victor really going to make his impact felt. I mean, the one time that we saw the big fight occur was because Dwinby engaged on him and he just turned around and Chaos Stormed to the face and said, let's do this. But for the most part, Shifter, as was sort of said before, hasn't been going for the aggressive plays, much like Apollo, just being a little bit sensible about this early game, getting some good farm behind them. And of course, Shifter having 3 assists and 2 kills, it sets him in good stead.
Well, he's not necessarily on a champion to be a massive playmaker. I mean, Victor's more about, again, your AoE damage as well as your utility that you can bring in choke points with your gravitational field. Kirei's been the #1 playmaker. I really want to talk about kind of pick potential, especially because something that I didn't mention before is the tandem synergy between Elise and Thresh. Now, typically we see these champions picked and used together a lot, especially as we come on to kind of this mid-game, 20 minutes to 25 minutes. The death timers in the middle of the game can be really punishing. With Deep Vision kind of moved away from since stealth wards are removed and more teams are relying on either their blue trinkets or their pink wards, a pick with a death sentence or a cocoon can really turn the tide of a game since you're so punished by the death timer. So expect to see that. Like, Dignitas will always have that answer, and they have the perfect champion set for it.
So far, it's Chaogu here, another blue buff. Probably going over towards Dwinby there as well. They make his way back towards the mid lane. There are pings, of course, to that red side. And for the last at least 5 minutes, Dignitas have set up shop in this top part of the map. And it's not a lot of defensive zone here for Chaogu, really, with Dignitas every now and then just traipsing through the jungle. Where's the next melting point or boiling point here, I guess, for this fight, if you want to get scientific? Where are we going to see things really start to open up?
Well, Dignitas have invested so much gold and time, like you said, onto this top side of the map, securing flanking vision, trying to set up a siege here. I mean, they've been pushing on the top side for the last 5-7 minutes, so don't know if they're going to fight over the red buff, but we're definitely about to see some action. Both teleports are available for either top laner, and here comes Sakura.
Yeah, and there goes the Javelin in as well. Dwinby is going to go for this one. Kirai's going to get the heck out very, very quickly. Subjugate was used on towards that Elise there, and it seems Kirai did not fancy hanging around to see how that one went. Teleport used by V, also by Smidijay. I believe it was a cancel for him. He's still able to split push in that bottom lane.
Yep, he was trying to teleport up into the lane closer to the tower, so both teleports are done, but it forces V to immediately recall because he can't allow Fiora to get a free push, which is why we now see Smidijay walking over into Fog of War, and now the pressure moves into the mid lane.
Oh, Dignitas now with 4 players here. Definitely want to take this mid out of turret, and they'll probably have it too. Not really much to be done. Dwinby's going forward, but he's caught up in the gravity field. He will get blown up. And of course, the middle outer turret falls to Dignitas there as well. Dwinby, not the first time he's put himself a little bit too far forward.
And this is exactly what we were talking about. This is what Dignitas needed to do 5 minutes ago, is just group up, use the tower siege presence of the gravitation field with Tristana's satchel. You saw that Dwinby didn't even get the frozen tomb off, immediately walked into the gravitational field, got blown up instantly.
Not a thing that he could do, and Dignitas were more than happy to take that one away. Now Kirai will join Smidijay in this bottom lane. Dignitas from tower to tower, making these rotations and feeling comfortable in the jungle of QG by the looks of things. I mean, Apollo will even join them. They're happy with this sort of situation. It's a death sentence thrown out Jesse's, but will not connect.
And just like that, Dignitas are back in control of their gold lead, but here comes Joinby from behind.
Straight in from the back. Spooky Ghost come out there. It maybe didn't want the target, but the onslaught of shadows come straight through over the fight. Grand Challengers laid down towards PCT. We see Jesse's got isolated towards the left side of the fight. Up the top, it's TNT getting a bit of a clean up here. Already 2 down for Dignitas, and Joinby might not be done there. It's a full-scale retreat here for Dignitas, but Swift is gaining on them, and he wants to jump on towards one of those lower targets.
Good disengage there from Shifter, but will it stop Swift? If he lands the spear, Spiderlings are blocking.
The chase is still on by the looks of things. Swift would love to close the gap, and V's got to come in from the side, but straight away the Death Spray comes out, forces him back, and that was almost a very, very dead horsey.
And Shifter right there with good cooldown management saves at least 3 members of his team, but that is what CSGO are famous for. They are famous for those 5v5 scenarios, making the most off of a chaotic setup.
And they really wanted to go further onto that as well. That quintessential Chinese aggression that has been sort of talked about and speculated is really being demonstrated here in full form. Just as we said, Dignitas were starting to take control. It's QG trying to wrest it back by force.
I want to check quickly into itemization. QSS has been completed for Apollo right there, so see how he makes the most of that if the Frozen Tomb is expended on him. I feel like that's really the only big CC that he's trying to watch out for.
So a lot of those items are coming out. It's going to be a late Rod of Ages for Joinby, if ever. I mean, yeah, with the Catalyst in his inventory at such a late point, obviously you'll have to see if he's going to be able to stack that up as much as he would like.
And that's kind of one of the only criticisms that you hear about Rod of Ages in terms of, you know, Dexter said the average game time is around 27, 28 minutes, and Rod of Ages really doesn't have enough time to ramp up into its full power spike. Typically, teams finish it around 15 minutes, you know, pre-patch, obviously, like you said, Joinby getting a very late one. It's going to be at full power around 25 minutes, so missing a big chunk of game here unless team's planning to go late, but against Tristana, that's fairly dangerous.
Yeah, like you said, you pointed out, Dignitas have that scaling on their side, and yet it almost seems like Joinby is setting his sights towards that late game. The question remains, will QG be able to make it there at all? Still pressure towards that top side here, and Swift heading down towards that river. Dragon is available, it's live. Maybe able to pressure on towards that one, but Smitty J is never too far from his position.
They do have a bit of breathing room simply because Tristana did choose to early itemize that QSS. So again, you're delaying that 3-item power spike. Again, the attack speed or the double attack speed items are really efficient right now just because the initial burst you can get off of the stacked Shiv and rapid fire.
We've seen a fight try to be started here already once by CSGO. Didn't really work out. We did see the Spooky Ghost even use, only catching on to Jesse's, but you can see that CSGO getting a little bit antsy about how much pressure is being put on towards his top tower. Maybe fancying a fight. There's a Pillar of Frost. Swift is caught by a death sentence, but no capitalization at this point.
Beautiful thing about Trundle's support is once you have kind of max points into this pillar, you can almost keep it up 100% of the time.
Really is quite troll in every sense of the term. I want to see if he's going to be trying to lane that one down in the fight. V seems to have caught towards Smitty J. Almost does want to go in. Maybe Swift. You can never tell with these guys, but Jesse looks like Dignitas might try and make something happen here as well. PCT in the backline. Beautiful onslaught of shadows, though. But V is caught in the gravity field. He'll drop down. Shifter lives for the moment. Smitty J does go down as well. Kirei and Apollo, full-scale retreat. Jesse's almost falling foul to that javelin. And Dignitas, they dipped their toe in, realized it was maybe a little bit hotter than they thought.
Effectively, CSGO split that fight in half. Now, Shifter did another great job laying down the gravitational field into a choke point that managed to save multiple members of Dignitas, so that you see their health bars blinking across the board. But Joinby managed to zone off, I think, 2 or 3 people of Dignitas, and that's how CSGO really got the upper hand in that fight, and it translates into a free Dragon. Now, 5th Dragon, the games are ending shorter, so Dragon loses a lot of its viability, but seems like both teams don't really want to contest much here.
Use that hook, of course, to start things off.
Yeah, so the thing that I want you to pay attention to is this onslaught of shadow, like you said, and then Joinby and Swift zoning off Smitty J and totally spacing.
Jesse's already back.
Jez, there we go. So Jez is not being able to reposition his team while everyone else is just filing into TNT's Lucianol, and that ult is doing so much damage.
It's hitting just that much harder now as well. Of course, as TNT able to get himself the Essence Reaver as well, but here comes the Baron. It looks like Dignitas fancy this one. Teleport is coming in close by.
Dignitas and Baron.
They're going to go fight. Yeah, well, we've all heard the stories, but here's Joinby. He's going to go straight in towards that pit. No, he actually doesn't get it off, and the Baron is not stolen away by QG, although it looked tantalizingly close.
And finally, Dignitas find a Baron that works out for
Hallelujah.
them. It is a new team. No, great gravitational field again. Amazing call from Dig right there to know that they had enough time to do that again. Shifter using Victor beautifully, zoning out as many members as he could. So good pickup. We'll see if they can translate anything with it.
Wouldn't be almost a sense of him wanting to go into that pit, who can't really be sure about these guys. I mean, sometimes they're just teetering on the edge of, I guess, basic aggression and just absolute insanity. Of course, that Baron now going over towards Dignitas as we're coming up on 28 minutes here. Gold still sits quite even despite 2 extra turrets in favor of the boys in yellow and black.
There we go, though. But Tristana, meanwhile, getting just that much stronger. Lucian sitting on his double items. Collegiate now has his crit as well as his Essence Reaver. I feel like I'm reading off of an iPad. I'd like lean in.
Yeah. Absolutely, of course. Essence Reaver loves it if you're hitting those crits as frequently as you can. And TNT now, I feel like he's starting to develop into a legitimate threat. Outside of, I guess, the back and forth in lane. Very, very scary in that last little fight as well. And if V keeps hitting those onslaught of shadows just so, Dignitas might have a lot of more concerns going in towards his later team fights.
I think it's beneficial that they keep Dignitas's 5v5 spread out as much as possible. You have so much skirmish potential coming out of Xiaogu in terms of like their carries. Now, when I talk about the carries, I'm talking about Swift and, hold on, Jez is caught.
Yeah, speaking of skirmishing, Jez is in a 1v5 skirmish of his own design, and he will drop. Very simple there. Dwinby actually going to be using the Frozen Tomb there to secure that one away.
Likewise, the Coaling was used, so 2 key ultimates down for Xiaogu, but Dignitas really not in a scenario where they can look for the 5. They're more so kind of spreading out their pressure across the map. Now, back to the carries. Swift. So the Nidalee and the Lucian are incredibly good at skirmishing just because of their mobility.
Speaking of which...
Over the wall.
Yeah, Swift able to get out of that one pretty
Whereas Dignitas, they want to, again, that Venn diagram of murder. They want the 5v5 where everyone's in the same area, layering their abilities on top of each other, and getting these executions down to get Apollo rolling.
Well, they might have it here. Kirei forced to get the heck out towards the back of that fight. TCT was too deep. We've heard that one before, I think. Onslaught of Shadows is coming out, and the grand challenge was laid down. It's going to be a 3-for-nothing fight. And Dignitas just breeze through that one.
Exactly what I was talking about right there. They got it funneled all into one area. You got the execution, Apollo's jumping forward, and look at that tower just get shred.
They have Baron buff as well. QG giving a fight over, giving them so much presence now as they push forward, and these Nexus turrets are now under threat.
They could end the game right here unless Doinby pulls something big, but he has the Frozen Tomb.
Smitty J going to go forward as well. Did he manage to shrug off that Frozen Tomb with his riposte? Possibly. We're going to go towards the Nexus there, and Dignitas have done it. What a quick finish there as well. Almost suspension of disbelief for us there, of course, after that team fight. QG could not have picked a worse place to go 0 for 3.
Dignitas, new team, new expectations. They can no longer be chained down by the irrelevant talking point that was the past organization. They came out with a fire. Kirei, I mean, he's going up against Swift. You look at this tournament, you're like, Rush, Spirit, Jankos, Swift. No one's saying Kirei. That guy just decimated one of the top junglers.
And you can see that, his aggression early in the game almost kind of worked against him. It was a fight that, for some reason, Swift decided to take against him. Obviously, Kirei won that 1v1, and then he went from there in leaps and bounds. Dignitas there have got to be feeling a lot of relief as well, because this is a baptism of fire for a lot of these teams as well, and self-belief sort of comes around a little bit later on. You need to put your nose to the grindstone and test yourself here, but I mean, we have, of course, far more incredible stuff from today's games, and of course these two teams especially. Interesting to see now if Dignitas can make it this sort of this 2-0 victory, or will it be dragged out a bit? Do you really think that was characteristic QG or not?
No, I absolutely think. I mean, we talked about the death said Xiaogu, they suffer in the early game. Dignitas took full advantage of that. Kind of a bit of a fumble in kind of their mid-game calling, but once they consolidated their resources, pulled Shifter and Apollo together and just dominated the game.
All right, well, it's time to throw to our experts. They'll be putting this game under the microscope just a little bit more.